This man's day was shaken up when he encountered a young horse in trouble. It was running around the highway, a danger to itself and the traffic. The man couldn't just stand by idle and decided to act. But he couldn't have expected what would happen after he rescued the young horse. Otis enjoyed his day off driving through the countryside in his new car. It was early in the day, and the weather was good. It seemed like he was the only one off work, as it was pretty calm on the road. But he was unaware that his peaceful ride would soon be rudely interrupted. That peace and quiet caused him to zone out while driving. He was moving his head to the beat of the music while jamming his fingers on the steering wheel. This all came to a surprising end when, all of a sudden, something jumped in front of his car and startled him. Otis's reflexes were on point as he immediately braked as hard as he could while swerving away from the thing that had appeared out of thin air. No bumps or sounds indicated he had hit it, which led him to believe he had avoided it. "Sheesh," he said with his heart in his throat. After slowing down and parking his car next to a billboard on the side of the road, he took a few deep breaths and held his head. That was close. What was it? He took some time to recover while looking in his mirrors, but he didn't see anything, which made him exit his car. After he got out, he was surprised to see what had jumped in front of his car. There was a foal roaming free, running over the highway and crossing multiple times. Both Otis and the horse were fortunate to have missed each other, but what was it doing out here, all alone? He scanned his surroundings to try and answer the question that went through his mind. "What are you doing here, little buddy?" he murmured to the horse. The young horse kept running around the highway. It clearly didn't care that it had just been moments away from being run over. Making his way toward the young horse, Otis checked for oncoming traffic, finding the road quiet. Unfortunately, the foal wasn't calm. It darted toward the crash barrier instead of crossing. When the foal paused, Otis seized the chance to approach, extending his hand and speaking softly. Another horse, presumably the foal's mother, appeared on the other side, causing Otis to realize the foal's distress was due to separation. Wanting to reunite them, Otis scanned for help but found none, so he acted alone. As he pondered, the unexpected unfolded. With the mother's arrival, the foal calmed, staying near her. Otis tried to lift the foal over the barrier, but the mother's sudden leap startled him. He retreated, fearing the mother might see him as a threat. As the foal ran to its mother, Otis hoped they'd calm down, but they continued frantically. Realizing the danger with both horses on the highway, Otis knew he had to act. Approaching cautiously, Otis prepared to intervene, aware of the risk. But then, his focus on the horses was interrupted by movement in his peripheral vision. Wondering what was happening, Otis moved to a safe distance to observe. More panicked horses appeared, adding to the confusion. The surprises kept coming since he stopped his car. The situation escalated further, leaving Otis baffled. He wondered why the horses were distressed and if they had an owner. Approaching the barrier, Otis scanned the field but saw nothing. Yet he could hear distant barking, signaling approaching dogs. Realizing the source of the horses' panic, Otis chuckled at his futile efforts. With the horses back in the pasture, Otis could have left, but he stayed, sensing someone nearby. He hoped to inform the owner about the escaped horses, unaware of what lay ahead. As he glanced at the sky, a loud gunshot shattered the tranquility. Startled, Otis watched the horses flee towards the forest, realizing the situation was more serious. Ducking down, he spotted someone in camouflaged clothing with a gun, making the situation even stranger. Ensuring he was out of earshot, Otis pondered the bizarre scene. The person didn't seem like the owner, raising suspicions about their intentions and leaving Otis unsettled. Parked discreetly near the billboard, Otis remained unnoticed by the dogs and the person in camouflage, a fact he intended to maintain. Grunting lightly, he rose to assess the situation. As the dogs trailed the horses towards the forest, the camouflaged figures surveyed the pasture and then headed towards the woods. Otis wondered about their intentions and observed movement in the distance. Squinting, he tried to discern what was happening. With the camouflaged person out of sight, Otis hurried to his car for binoculars. Peering through them, he was astonished to see a group of people herding the horses and setting up cages. Realization dawned on him. They were horse thieves. Stunned, Otis grappled with the situation. Calling the police seemed futile given the thieves' imminent departure. Determined, he formulated a plan and raced after them in his car. Driving cautiously to avoid detection, Otis followed the thieves at a distance, his nerves taut with anticipation. Eventually, he spotted 4 cars with wagons ahead, prompting him to slow down and strategize his next move. "Shit," he mumbled again. His thoughts went into overdrive. The cars had stopped, and he had little time to react. What were they doing? The nervousness started getting to him as he fidgeted with his hand on the steering wheel. Then he noticed they had stopped at a gas station. Before realizing what he had done, Otis had turned off his car at the gas station. He tried to look casual and as if he was supposed to be there, even though he didn't need gas. He watched the thieves filling their cars from the corner of his eyes. What now? It would cause suspicion if he stopped at the gas station without doing anything and followed the thieves again whenever they left, so he had to do something. "Okay, let's go." He talked himself up as he got out of his car and walked over to the shop to act unsuspicious. But moments before he entered the store, he overheard something that made his heart skip a beat. Around the corner, a voice could be heard. "The boss wants us to take them to the Sanchez Ranch before midday," it said. Otis gasped as he entered the store. "Got you," he muttered. He bought something and returned to his car as fast as possible, carefully looking around to see if the thieves were watching him. But they seemed occupied with themselves. His hands were trembling, not only from nerves, but also from excitement. He managed to call the police, but while the telephone rang, he noticed something. Before Otis knew it, he started the car and pursued the thieves again. They had driven off. He put the phone on speaker and threw it on the passenger's seat. This meant that he needed to yell to be heard. But he managed to explain to the police what was happening. About a half hour later, he noticed the thieves drove up a dirt road. It had a sign above it which read, "Sanchez Ranch." He parked his car at a safe distance and waited for the police, as he had agreed to do. "Come on, hurry up," he said while pacing impatiently. Otis grabbed his binoculars again and had been looking at the ranch for quite a while when the police finally arrived. "There are about a dozen of them in the main building over there," he pointed as he brought them up to speed. He felt relieved, as he felt it was almost over now. Moments later, the police drove to the ranch with sirens loudly, surprising the thieves. The police were present in great numbers and made sure every last one of the thieves was arrested. At that moment, Otis noticed another man arrived with the police. The man wasn't wearing a police uniform. Who was he? The man watched closely how every thief was arrested, and when his eyes met Otis, he smiled. Otis took a good look at the man. He was wearing horse riding clothes and had a big white hat. The man approached Otis and introduced himself. It was the owner of the horses. The owner was overjoyed and hugged Otis. He had saved him from an incredible disaster. To show his gratitude, the man invited Otis to the horse races. Otis put his hands in his pockets and shuffled around. He didn't know what to do with all the praise, but eventually accepted his offer happily. If this story touched you as much as it did us, you should watch this video. Dog keeps barking at table. The owners are shocked to find out why. Click here to get the full story.